Welcome back to the ATI podcast. We're here for episode 138, and our special guest this week is the amazing Sludge band from Northern Jersey, and that is SUNROT. How we doing, folks?
Yo, we're 138, baby.
138.
Yeah. We are 138.
Hell yeah. Little Misfits love.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful number to be at. Well, I'm super pumped to get you guys on the call tonight and doing a little gush before we start recording. You guys kind of ended up on my radar around 2017, and I know that's when, some instrumental shifts, and you guys added the drummer that you have now in the band. So I think that probably music-wise, and we'll get into the weeds with that, not to jump the shark right now, but I think that's where you guys were starting to kind of lock in and navigate your sound and kind of matured to what you are today. Even though I know that you guys have been a band for over 10 years technically now at this point, but it's going to be a super fun conversation tonight.
Yeah, stoked to be here. This is awesome.
I've touched on the fact that you guys have been a band now for 10 years. And so, in the event that people are now just discovering you, I think that it's always interesting to kind of hear, those early musical stories from members in the band and then kind of lead up to the band getting together. So I'm always fascinated by, what originally drew you as an individual to music. Was there a certain artist or a band or a song, or you saw a music video, or maybe a family member that played an instrument that influenced you to explore music further and, kind of visualize it being something that was in possibly a career path for you that you wanted to pursue? So how about for you, Lex? Let's get started with you.
For me, yeah, music was always around. And nobody played music, though. It was just something I really enjoyed. I was listening to different music. My dad, he's from Argentina, and he was listening to a lot of Latin music and but also a lot of Motown. He grew up in Patterson, New Jersey. My mom was listening to a lot of Motown. She's from Patterson too, and hippie music and stuff. I don't know. For me, it just became a form of like expression. Like when I was going through stuff, like early on, music was the only thing that made me feel better.
Lex, I can relate a lot to what you're talking about there. As a young person, had a lot of issues in my youth for various reasons. I went through foster care, things like that, things I've talked about publicly on the show. So, had to deal with a lot of mental health related things at a young age, just going through all that adversity and trauma. And music was definitely one of the few things that I could always go to. It was something that I connected with my father because he was a musician. He played drums, and even as a young baby, I would sit behind him and watch him play drums, and he could noodle around on other instruments. So then that, led me to be interested in playing other instruments as well. So I kind of had a fascination and an aptitude to kind of learn other instruments. So music was definitely always a refuge for me. So I can definitely relate in that regard, not only just being a fan of listening to it in various genres, but also, actually figuring out how to play. And it was something more positive to put my time and my energy into to concentrate on. So, but yeah, music has been everything for me for sure. I can definitely relate there.
Basically, I was a little bit of a latchkey kid, and I was just kind of plopped in front of the TV. And it was right when, new metal was kind of hitting. I was I knew about LFO was the first CD I bought. I don't know if you remember LFO.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, sick. So then, I was listening to that shit. And then I remember seeing probably Static X or Limp Bizkit, Snooki, or one of those. And just was what is this? And I got really into that. I dressed up as Fred Durst for Halloween when I was 9. And then basically what happened was I got into heavier music and more fucked up music pretty quickly because our friend group all had older brothers and sisters, and they all beat us up for they're oh, you pussy, you listen to Korn? We listen to Slayer. And then they gave me God Hates Us All and all kinds of shit like that. And I just kind of started evolving just because I didn't want to get beaten up. So it's yeah, I'll listen to, I don't know, I got into Mastodon that way. I got into all kinds of stuff, pretty early, 2002-ish. Yeah.
Metal's definitely something that a lot of us, not all of us in the band, but a lot of us, because we grew up around that time. That's how I got into Like I was telling you, you know, I listen to like Latin, Motown. My brother liked like gangster rap, like the classics, you know,
Yeah.
like Tupac, Biggie, you know, all the stuff.
Nas.
Loved it too. And I thought that was my jam. And then I heard Wait and Bleed. And I was like,
Nice.
this guy's like kind of rapping, but he's like yelling, and I want to yell. So I'm gonna listen to this too.
For sure.
That's like heavy shit. New metal is like a thing, a doorway that people underestimate into like
I agree.
Yeah, and there's so much shit that they were doing that has not been like tapped into and like expanded upon. There's all this weird shit they got away with, and it was like in pop music, and you know, like, you know, Jonathan Davis is singing about like sexual assault and shit on top 40 radio. Like it's just like it's like really personal, like deep stuff happening there, and
Absolutely.
yeah, it's kind of great.
It's crazy that some of that stuff was as popular as it was, but also, you know, it was just kind of right time, right place. So, you know, so much of the 90s, particularly late 90s, was just a huge cultural shift. And I think, you know, that genre in particular kind of took advantage of that. But yeah, I remember the first time, I think the first Limp Bizkit song I heard was the George Michael cover, The Faith, on the first album.
Right, yeah.
But I was probably like, I want to say like 12 when that came out. And like immediately I was like, okay, I'm going to explore this further. So, you know, I actually grew up in a very religious household. So I had to like trade amongst friends, like CDs or like hats or like a game or something to get the album that I wanted, because my parents wouldn't buy it for me, sort of thing, you know. I remember getting my hands on that album, and the first Korn self-titled 1994 as well. That was a huge one for me. I think new metal gets a bad rap. It's kind of like cool to shit on nowadays for whatever reason. I don't really understand. I think bands like, you know, Chat Pyler kind of bringing it back to the forefront, you know, the importance of it, for sure.
SUNROT is a new metal band.
SUNROT is Rob, Chris. But don't tell Robert, Chris. They'll be really.
Yeah, all rapping. By the way,
SUNROT is a new metal band. I still fuck with all that old stuff, especially like I said, Slipknot. Is one of the bleakest records ever, and it's so rated, and sometimes thing obviously, but like Corey really had us out here being like, I want to slit your throat.
Yeah.
And we're like 10 years old, and I wanted to be Corey, and I wanted to be Sid, and I wanted to be Craig all in one, and I'm trying to do that shit still.
I hear that. Yeah. And, you know, hey, they figured it out, and I know I got to stick with my Midwest people too, you know, Slipknot from the Iowa area, and we ain't got a lot of good things to do out here in the Midwest other than rebel against all this Bible Belt oppression that we faced on a daily basis. So
that's brutal.
Yeah. So let's talk about how SUNROT got together, you know, kind of what the early aughts looked like, you know, how you guys became friends with one another, how you all linked up.
So it kind of started as like you know, obviously an idea. I had just gotten back from Florida. I lived there for 2 years. I was supposed to be down there 30 days for rehab. I got lost down there for 2 years. But I did get off heroin and crack and
good for you.
Benzos and
props.
Plethora of other stuff.
That shit's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. So I came back, and you know, I was actually speaking of new metal, I was like friendly with some of the dudes from El Nino who were really nice to me as like a young concert goer when I was, you know, young, and they were like, yo, I was like, how do I get like a solid band? You know, I've always tried to have a band, but I was always too fucked up, you know. So now that I'm fucked up, how do I get a band? And they're like, just freaking go to as many shows as you can, and like when you see a band, you like talk to the pick those players. So I was going to the Meat Locker a lot already. I saw Chris's band, his old band Theraroya, play, and I saw Rob's old band Furnace Head play, and I went up to Chris and I was like, yo, let's jam, like let's do this. I knew him from County College, and I knew Rob from County College, and Rob thought it was interesting. We needed a drummer, and Rob's a guitarist. He's the guitarist. He's now, but he started as a drummer, and then he introduced me to the other member of his band Furnace Head, Evan, who was our first bassist before Ross came on. We just like wanted it to be like a crazy weird side project, like a whole like just, I think like our like tags on like early Bandcamp are like dark, spacey, fuzzy, weird shit. Like
that's where just, I think that's probably where that compulsive post noise power sludge bullshit.
Yeah, that's I forget how that came about, but
cool.
we called ourselves, and we still do it. Like, yeah, it's a compulsive thing. We needed to create, we needed to get out a lot of shit, all of us. And even if they were not other bands, it was still a good like outlet for like just to be weird, get like into some dark, weird headspaces and feel shit and bleed it fuck out.
I know that there's always at least been a through line of, dissonance, angularity, some of that bleakness that you talk about, musically, the mood that you guys that create, but, you guys have kind of hammered down, and kind of fine tuned that over time. I know the first EP you guys did was, I believe, in 2014, but I mean, I think there's been a lot of change even since then. And would you guys kind of, I mean, I know there's been some marginal member changes, but would you guys kind of just contribute that to finding your voice more and more so, and just kind of focusing in on what you actually want to do?
Yeah. I think that our EP, though I'm still proud of it, I love it. It sounds nothing like we do now. It sounds nothing. It sounds like, well, you can see the roots. You can see some root notes, like with like weird shit,
Yeah, some of the drony stuff, and
yeah, it's like it's drony. What do you think, Ross?
I love the production on the old SUNROT stuff. Like that's like before I joined SUNROT was like my favorite band.
We
like,
toured with him, and we loved him.
My old band toured with SUNROT a few times, and and I just was like a huge fan, and I liked the fucked up production. I liked all the stuff they were doing, and when they needed a bass player, I was like, I live in Philly, I don't live anywhere near them.
Oh wow.
And when they were like, I need a bass player, I was like, I'll make this work because I just want to do this. And yeah, and also like the sound changing has been some member stuff too, because like Rob moving to guitar from drums and adding Alex on drums has been like was a huge shift in like how we write. And then I don't know if you'll agree with me, Lex, but according to you guys, it seems like when I joined, there was also like another big shift in the writing.
For sure.
It's like,
no, 1,000%. It's adding a new layer, and taking the old one away too, but still having remnants of it.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. It's like relearning, but it's interesting relearning how to write with like a new core group.
Yeah. Speaking of writing, is it pretty collaborative for you guys? Is it somebody comes with an idea and everybody builds off that, or is a primary person kind of putting together the bones and then everybody's just adding their spice to the soup, or what's that look like?
Yeah,
it's been super collaborative, like to the point where it's like can be frustrating because it's like we just like every one of us has our like dicks in the pot on every single, and it just gets kind of like, but it's awesome, and it's like you can hear everyone on every song, like you can hear their stamp on everything, and like Lex, like just as a vocalist and like a noise maker, like Lex is kind of like can be kind of like a conductor sometimes, like like we'll have like some disagreement about like I liked it that way, and then Lex will just be like, I think it's like it's this one. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's the answer.
I love it.
I'm not just I try not to just write lyrics and vocal stuff. I try to help with the music, but the only reason I would be even close to like try to conduct anything is because I'm in the presence of such amazing artists. They're really fucking tremendous. To watch them cook is wow, it's amazing. The stuff they come up with is amazing. So it's my pleasure that they hear me when I interject some random shit, and I'm like, oh no, you try it this way, and they appease me, and it's very nice.
Well, I'd love to hear the collaborative efforts that are going into everything, because I always think that yields the best results when everybody feels like their voice is heard and it's implemented in some way. Now, maybe the origin of the idea isn't 100% of what it looks like in the finished product, but, that's actually a good thing in most cases. Sometimes our ideas need molded, and, even with some of the member changes. So if we're looking at timeline wise, Ross, you joined about 2021. Is that right?
Yeah, I was playing with them like 2020. I think we were like, it was like sort of unofficial until.
So, I mean, you were primarily heavily involved in the last 3 releases, the writing of that stuff, performing on those tracks.
Right? I actually they had this huge backlog of music that was like sort of just cursed to never come out, and so I like got to put some stamps on the recording. Like I did like a little bit of noise, and I did vocals and like stuff like that. But I think like with the exception of the Thou cover that we did, pretty much all that stuff was written was like set in stone long before I was in here. So like, yeah, basically like the next thing we have is like the stuff that I'm really
more present on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's doing great. And he's putting a lot of work in. Comes from 2 young kids and comes from Philadelphia once a week.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love the dedication.
It's serious dedication. And we love how he works. Like still talk to our old bassist. He was a great guy. We just parted ways.
Sure. Shit happens.
Ross brings an equal amount of talent and creativity and his own flavor. And we're really happy about it. It feels very complete. Not that it didn't feel complete, but it feels complete in this new iteration. It's fun. We're writing currently. That's why.
Love it. Well, even with, the last 4 releases. So even starting with like Sonata, I could tell that you guys kind of pushed yourselves genre-wise, I feel like. So like Sonata to me is almost more of a doomy record. And then you would go on to implement more sludge. And now even like, these last few albums in particular, the noise presence has stepped up hugely. And I noticed like in some of the like live performances of you guys, Ross, you prominently adding secondary vocals in places to accentuate, what's happening on the front end. And it's really just, it's like all these little decisions and nuances that you guys are adding and making are just popping and leveling up. And I love to see it. Really love it.
So much. Yeah, we put a lot of, it's not random stuff, we are very intentional.
And there's a kind of a fun through line for me because I have vocals on Sonata. Like I came in and just did vocals on Sonata and then I just kept being there. So it feels a little bit like I've been there the whole time. Like
and especially if, touring with the band in the past, you had that rapport. So I think that's all definitely, in the mix. One thing I love about your guys' band too is the collaboration with other artists, the splits and the comps and covers that you guys have done. You guys have had pretty incredible catalog of folks that I don't think some people maybe realize actually work with you in the past. Obviously more recently you got Dylan from Full of Hell, one of my absolute favorite musicians in the game this present day. Oh yeah, amazing guy. I certainly don't know him at the level that you guys do, having collaborated with him, but he was nice enough to take the time at Furnace Fest to talk to me and actually give me a real answer as to why they don't come to St. Louis. Yeah. When I had a line of people behind me, and I was like, you know what, dude, I fucking respect you being a real human being. Like, that's amazing. Takes balls.
Dude, he played the blocker. He played like this little punk. Full of Hell played this little punk venue, and he told me, he's like, we're gonna have like our agent hit you up, but like don't, like, we told him to be really nice to you, and if he's like mean to you at all, just tell me and I'll talk to him. Like so real. Like he, like, you could tell he was still so DIY, but like they had at that point, like they had to have that, but like he was so genuine and sincere in like wanting to like really respect the DIY space. And he's amazing. Sorry, I could go on about Dylan.
Yeah, he's awesome guy. And I know not only has this person engineered some of your music for you, but I believe has accreditation as well of his collaboration on a track. That's Scott Moriarty. And then you guys had Blake Harrison, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Amazing person and musician. Brian from Vow, of course, as well. That's one of my favorite bands, of course, of the best doing it.
His partner, Emily, is on that
track. Emily is on that track as well. I mean, well-deserved, certainly, but also you guys got to feel blessed to have these people working with you.
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, like, if we're like a case study for anything, it's just, if you want something, you should just ask. Because the worst thing that happens is they say no. And that's kind of what we've made what our middlingly successful sludge metal band career has been built off of just pestering people into agreeing to do shit with us. And some of them are our friends still, and it's pretty cool. Like Brian, we talked to Brian a lot. I don't know if people recognize how much he is like the glue for the American like heavy music scene. Like he's doing like archival shit, and he's doing like his newsletters, his like all of this stuff is like, and he does it quietly, and he does it to the people who look for it, and he is like such a and he helps everyone who hits him up. He's like, I'm not everyone, but I'm saying he's like he's a hero. He's for real.
We have our friends on stuff like my brother like got me into rap and the rap and the hip hop culture, like the mixtape, like they bring their friends with them. And I think I've always thought that was like a beautiful sentiment. And why not have that in every genre? Like,
Absolutely.
that really shined to me, like, as a prime example, like a stand-up example of like good people who do things for their community. And it's like, if our friends want to help us do anything, we'll help them do stuff. You know, like we try to, you know, with Brian and Blake and Brandon and Dylan, they don't need our help, but like, you know, saying like, it's a communal thing. And we are blessed that they've humored us and have been records, because we're honored. But
Absolutely.
like, we've also, you know, from the jump, we've had, you know, I think my friend Jill Keats, you know, we've had a whole bunch, Stephen Edwards, Raw. We just try to, like, you know, have the friends, the dear friends. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah. So if you're a band and you want people you idolize to be featured, pester them, but also bring your friends with you. Get them on records too.
That's one thing that I've always loved about the hardcore community, the punk community, is that there's a lot of that bringing folks with you for the journey.
Yeah.
Particularly I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a bad apple, there's exceptions to the rules always, but you know, that's really the true spirit of the scene, and that's why I've been so attracted to it myself as a musician over the years and as a fan. Prominently a 90s kid, born in the 80s, but, you know, most of my childhood was in the 90s and preteen years and early teenage years. And so things like that you're alluding to, Lex, with like the rap game and stuff, you know, the appeal of bringing on people and discovering new artists and kind of lifting them up, you know, that's something that even like with the newest Kendrick Lamar album, how he went back to Compton and got like a lot of lesser known MCs and brought them onto the record, and even got Mexican singer on the album as well. I don't even think she said that she'd ever been on any vinyl or anything like that in the past.
Cool.
And she kind of opens it up at the beginning of the album, and I think she's on another track though too. But I just love that when people go and search for those who may have not had the spotlight on them previously, but also, you know, these guys, these other people that, you know, you've talked about being blessed to have and honored to have on your tracks, the Dylans of the world, is from Full of Hell, for example. You know, it's kind of a co-signment. You know, it's kind of a validation of you guys as artists too, that, you know, that they're willing to jump on a track for you guys too, to say, hey, guys, you know, these people are legit, and you know, I'm gonna put my name to them as well, so you guys should too.
It makes us feel pretty good.
Yeah, we're honored for sure.
One thing for the life of me, I tried to go back and find out where I wanted to give the person the proper credit that said this, but I heard somebody refer to you guys as Baby Thou, which I was like,
It's called Jam.
that's kind of awesome. I kind of love that nickname.
Okay.
I cannot remember where I heard it now, but I was like, well, that feels kind of easy though, because Brian's been on tracks, and then you guys did the Thou cover, of course, and all that stuff as well. But yeah,
Baby Thou.
Maybe some people haven't realized that you guys are on that Heavier Than Thou, or maybe they don't even realize that it's out there. And Thou's a band too that, like you guys mentioned, likes to do their covers and homages to other artists as well. You know, the awesome Soundgarden covers and Nirvana, and, you know, I can go on and on and on, Black Sabbath that they've done. And I know that those guys are real ones too. Our friends Pfister from St. Louis, the doom metal band, those are solid dudes.
Kenny's the dude.
Good friends. Yeah, Kenny Snarzik, he's Marcus, I went to school with, the guitarist and
awesome.
vocalist. Yeah, so
He
I'm
was
really
super
good friends
sweet
with
with
him.
us.
Yeah, good guys. Wonderful people.
If you ever want to know my favorite Kenny story, ask me whenever.
Hey, let's hear it right now. I'll take it.
So I have to tell you an edited version, because
That's fine.
I do.
For disclosures in place.
Not Kenny's part isn't edited though. So anyway, we got threatened by Nazis on tour that they were. No, it just like fell in our lap. The show that Nazis were coming. So I hit up Kenny, who was putting on the show for us. I was like, I am so sorry. I know you probably haven't gotten this before, or maybe you have. I don't know. I don't know how real you are, but like Nazis are planning on coming to the show. Do you still want to have the show? I still want to have the show. I understand if you don't want to fuck with the show. We're still going to play somewhere, because we're not going to back down to Nazis. But if you want to be a part of it. And that man is 100% fucking real. He was like, no, fuck Nazis. And he called some friends, and we pulled up, and there were so many people there. And I was like, are these people here to beat up Nazis or to see us? And he was like, oh, probably.
I love it.
It was
He's amazing. He's a real one.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's lovely.
My metal uncles.
was like a fucking Monday night in St. Louis, and like it was like kind of a little bit of a last minute bill for us, and we were just like, this is probably not gonna. And we show up, and it's just like there's like bikers outside. There's like all these people, and he's just like, it's awesome. It was like,
yeah,
we're just like, damn, dude, this is like,
shit.
yeah.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, I do remember that happening now, man. That's awesome. Yeah, Kenny's a real guy. I love their historic beef with Trap that was covered by Metal Injection and Lamb Goat. That shit is legendary.
Yeah.
He's going after Lowell Bobert right now. Kenny's got the Possession Press screen printing business now, so he's going hard after Lowell Bobert and her inability to choose proper grammar and spell correctly. So, so I'm loving that. I'm waiting to see how that develops. That's been something that's happened here in the last 48 hours. So, highly entertaining. I love Kenny. He's just got all the balls in the world. He doesn't give a shit. He'll start shit with people that deserve it.
We'll get you.
That's the key. He goes after those that deserve it for sure. Well, I definitely want to mention the fact that if people aren't aware that you guys are on Prosthetic Records, we can get into how that relationship started for you guys, but there's obviously a lot of great bands either currently on there or recently on there. Bands like Undeath, Brat, Molder, Math, Dreamwell, Summoning the Lich I wanted to mention because they're a St. Louis band. So, and we've actually covered them on, we have a sister podcast, Waxing On with RJ, and they were a selection where they do physical media reviews and show reviews, and they did a little piece on Summoning the Lich last year.
Great.
Good band. And then the Mighty Atlas Moth as well. Absolutely fantastic band. And Body Void, you've done the split with last year. Pretty solid list of bands. Those are just the ones in particular, just right off the top of my head that I know that I like. I'm sure I'm probably overlooking a few, but what's it like to be a part of Prosthetic Records for you guys?
It's awesome. We've been really lucky to main interface person was sort of Becky Laverty, who also works with Roadburn, and she was just incredible, just like so super sweet to us, like very much down for any stupid idea that we wanted to do, and they've always been like very kind of just like, just like pitch us what you want to do and we'll see if we can make it work. And they've been awesome.
Steve's awesome. But yeah, Becky kind of like was the one who signed us, I think. Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she was.
Good folks. They have, they sign great bands, so we're honored to be a part of that rock.
Yeah. They were getting kind of made fun of, actually. It was the person who like is, I guess, in charge of the label, EJ. He like looked at the roster one day and it's like, they're just like, you realize you're like signing every like queer heavy band, like there's like Body Void and Pupil Slicer and like Creature, whatever, fucking a Gift from God. Just the list goes on, and then EJ's like, "What? Really? Oh wow, cool! Like, that's awesome.
That's really cool." Yeah,
Don Raid was on there for a while.
I didn't ever think about that, but yeah, that's pretty awesome actually.
Yeah,
bands, I love it.
Yeah. Labels, just to put a bow on that one, labels are as useful as you can make them. Also, like if you want to put your music out, you shouldn't feel like you need a label. It's really nice to have, and it's a good resource. There's a lot of people who talk about it like it's a be all end all, and it's just it's not. Very little changed for us, at least in terms of the way we do stuff prior to and then after.
Yeah, like a little bit more help with shit, which was cool.
Yes, that's always a good thing. Yeah, to have an engine behind you to help promote stuff and get the word out. And that's at the end of the day, that's what a label should be doing for you. So that's the primary thing that they can do. I definitely want to lean into and give a lot of love to the new EP that's out. Been on constant rotation. That's Passages. That just came out almost a month ago to the day as we're speaking here now. 5 songs, 16 minutes. And I believe we recorded that with Scott Moriarty again. Of course, you've got features on there we talked about earlier, from Dylan from Full of Hell and Brandon Hill. You got 5 tracks. I know my personal favorites, of course, are The First Wound and Untethered. But we kind of talked about how you started to kind of incorporate that noise a little bit more so. And of course, that's prevalent throughout this as a through line, this EP work here. What I actually like about this album is I think it's kind of taken what you guys have done in the last few albums where you've kind of pushed the boundaries of what you're going to do genre-wise perhaps, and it's all there. It's all representative. I think The First One's more of your kind of traditional sludgy track that you guys could churn out, but then Untethered leans a little bit more post-metal-y at times, you know, which I like to see from you guys as well, because I think you do that very well too. So really enjoying the work here and really excited to see what's next.
I mean, we're really proud of that. I think it's a really nice little distillation of, and you know, we put out a couple of like some kind of monolithic records that can be kind of hard to like swallow. Like Sonata's like an hour and 20 minutes. What is it? It's like
No.
7 minutes, something like that.
I think it's 61 minutes or something.
Okay. But anyway, it's there's a lot of beef on some of those, and it's kind of nice to have like sort of just a lean cut, just like fired off. Yeah. Also, we got to see this is wild. We got to see Anthony Fantano review it, which was like the craziest thing.
Oh, nice! I didn't realize he had reviewed it yet. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Wildest thing that's happened in my life. It was just like a wrap up thing, and he did like a react to it.
Yeah.
It's like listening to First Wound, and does like a little. It was cool. It was like surreal.
It was wild.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts a lot of people on some game, you know, and puts bands on people's radar, you know. So I don't always agree with his takes, but you know, I respect what he does and the niche that he's carved out for himself in the last 10 years.
Well, shout out to Ebony Butler of Metal and Coffee. She's the one who put Fantano onto us. She's the one who's been like in our corner for a while now.
Yeah,
she's
awesome. Yeah.
She's amazing music reviewer, really concise, in-depth reviews. She can do the little ones, you know, for the reels. She can do long, versatile. She picks amazing bands. She's great. Shout out
that.
Coffee.
Absolutely love that. This is a short listen for folks, 5 songs, 16 minutes. So, you know, if you guys haven't checked out SUNROT yet, I would highly recommend, you know, checking out the new EP, at least starting there, because it gives you kind of a good idea, I would assume, where things are going to continue to go for you guys creatively. But yeah, I mean, I can't give enough love to, you know, especially the last 3 releases have just been absolutely incredible. And I always go back to them. I mean, they've all been put out in the last 3 years, so it's kind of easy to say it's relatively recent, but it's quality work.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Now, one thing that I love about you guys too is kind of your social media presence, in the sense that you guys, and I've seen some, you know, clips from live shows and things like that too, but you guys use your platform to kind of speak out on some of the injustices in the world. One thing I would say I don't know why, well, we know why, and we can get into that if we choose, but yeah, these things have been made so controversial, and the narratives have been spun so many times. But, you know, one thing of recent that I appreciate the courage that you guys have taken to step forward on, and other artists are starting to, in particular, is the Palestinian conflict, you know, and all the injustices that are taking place there. You know, I kind of spoke about earlier how I grew up in a very religious household, and that was just a huge, you know, evangelical, that's just always a through line about how you don't ever go against Israel, and, you know, no matter what they do, you know, that's God's chosen people, and which is, I'll just cut straight to the point, folks. It's all bullshit. You know, read a fucking history book and actually see what's happening over the course of time. Then they try to masquerade things in anti-Semitism, but people don't realize the Palestinians are Semites, you know, so there's a lot of ignorance that is being perpetuated in this issue. And unfortunately, the people who win often write the history books, so it's not always the truth too, right? So it's a huge convoluted issue, and I really appreciate the courage you guys have taken to speak out against it almost on a daily basis, quite frankly.
Yeah, thank you. German, so they canceled our shows there, but other than that, everyone,
wow.
Yeah, we don't get. But,
you guys aren't the only ones, but, you know, fuck them for that. But I understand that they're probably doing an overcorrect based on their history as well.
Sure,
you know?
yeah. It's
I think that's a lot of it.
It's tricky.
For sure, though, now. But anyway,
right.
We can't we can't shut up. We can't sit silent. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good so it's not so much courage as a matter of can't shut up.
Yeah, I hear that.
Just fuck being quiet about this shit, you know. And if it comes, if we lose opportunities like we did, I don't care. Nobody cares. There's better things than opportunities. There's people's lives at stake. There's genocide.
I agree.
Yeah. Also, like, you know, we're just like a essentially DIY sludge band. Like, what the fuck what's the height that we're like, oh, it's like, oh man, my career, like, I fucking whatever, dude. I gotta stop swearing, my kid can hear me. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's like, you're on this earth once, like, you might as well speak about your time here, and like, there's a lot of people, especially with some of the stuff happening now in the United States, there's a lot of people who I'm starting to see people get like scared to do the
Yes.
things that they want to.
Yeah.
And or it's really hard, and it is really hard. Like, it's hard to like show up places, and it's hard to, like, if you have a boss who's like wants to work with ice, for instance, and you're like, you feel morally, weird about that. Like, there's just a lot of people who are, for the first time, like, having to make hard choices to make their ethics in line with their behavior. And I just, like, I don't think it's like any kind of like righteousness. I think it's literally just like stupidity. Like, I don't have any, like, I can't live any other way. I would like fucking, I don't know. I
wouldn't call it stupidity. It's you're firm in who you are and your beliefs, and that's how you choose to live your life, as you should be able to. And I know we're kind of somewhat teetering on the line of right and wrong here, but and that can get subjective with people. But
sure,
at the end of the day, genocide's genocide, though, and
sure.
I don't think anybody with any common sense would characterize that as something that's normal or good. So.
That's
What I have liked to see is things like the Jewish Brotherhood of Peace, for example. Those types of organizations speaking out against things like this. They're making it. This is a humanitarian issue. It's not. A lot of things, unfortunately, do go back to being religiously inspired, especially over centuries upon centuries of. We can talk about Christian crusades and things of that ilk. Just historically point to all these things that have happened in the name of religion that are just terrible. But it's an everyday fight here right now. And you brought up the ICE thing, Ross, and a real eye awakener for me was, we all had one Trump administration. We kind of knew, the devil was in the details, and he wasn't being quiet about anything, as he was running again. So we all knew it was going to happen. I don't think there's any surprises here, unfortunately, but at the same time, it doesn't allow us, we can't be back on our heels and shut up. And, if we see bad things happening, we need to call it out. And, on the first day of inauguration, I was mentioning to you guys before we got on the call, I work in hospitality, and the parent company that we're franchised with sent out a notice literally while they were going through the inauguration ceremony, what to do if ICE shows up at your property. And that was indicative because they knew that these executive orders were going to get signed and they were going to roll out that day. It was, to me, to actually just see that being sent to me as a forewarning on what to do, I don't know. It just kind of made things even more real, even though you knew it was going to happen, right? But, there's a lot of foreign workers or whatever the case is, in hospitality in particular. A lot of that work's outsourced because, quite frankly, a lot of privileged Americans don't want to do hard work,
Sure.
And clean up after people and that sort of stuff, or deal with people that can be unruly or rude, kind of this entitled life that we've all been privileged to some extent, has kind of created us to lose that empathy. Again, seeing that notice and the concern was a real eye opener for me. Not to say that I didn't already have these views, but it just made things a little bit more real.
Yeah. And like, some of that stuff is like our version of the bread and circuses. Like, there is like a lack of that kind of labor, and it's not well paid, and it's, we all know this stuff. Yeah.
Well, all these CEOs get their bonuses and making record profits. They want to keep everybody at minimum wage with no health care and take away things like Medicaid and Medicare, as we found out this week. And the shit just keeps rolling down the hill, right?
Well, yeah. I've been, Lex actually helped me out of a pretty deep rabbit hole earlier this week.
I don't know if I helped you.
Well, you at least listened to me just scream about like the tech billionaires and all the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's myself and Brandon Stewart, who runs Zen, another one of our sister podcasts that does D&D mini painting, explores that world. He's been a guest co-host on our show several times. Audience is familiar with him. He and I are often having conversations, helping pull one another out of getting into deep, dark of a hole, feeling, the existential despair that's taking place, right?
Sure, yeah.
But you got to get out and do things and put your energy to more positive things, like having the discussion that we're having tonight. Ross, I know that you had mentioned you were participating in some sort of protest, and your kid made a very cute sign themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
He well, we just went to, it's my partner, really. It's a teacher, and they're having this school board meeting where they're kind of ignoring, basically they had these this like procedure for what to do if ICE comes, and they were sort of like, they've been silent on this issue and blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a long, complicated thing, but yeah, my 4-year-old made a sign. We brought him to the school board meeting, and he made a sign that just says ICE is poop. So all one word.
I love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
One word.
just true. ICE is poop.
I might have to get that screen printed and distributed, and I'll put it up inside my properties, right inside the front door, so they know not to even bother us. Turn it away. It'll be like a crucifix for vampires in the front yard.
Garlic. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't express how much I appreciate the work that you guys are doing, and outside of just getting the word out, like we've touched on here, whether it's issues with civilly with what's going on in our country in particular, or globally, but also the good things that you guys are putting out in the universe, the music that you guys are putting out there as well. I think that's just absolutely amazing to get you guys. I mean, had a good idea of who you were based on those things already, but good to see it actualized here in the conversation tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You guys got anything exciting in the horizon that you can detail or tell our folks about? Perhaps a leg of shows for folks to come check you out at? What we got cooking? What can we talk about?
What we can talk about is we have this run with Faytooth in April. Faytooth's cool band from California, right?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, I think they're from LA.
California Fairy Doom.
Yeah, they call themselves Fairy Doom. It's very cool. It's sick. You should check it out. We're playing like 4 or 5 shows. It's like New York, Boston, Baltimore,
Philly.
That's probably it. Yeah. Sure. And then we're playing Mutants of the Monster Fest down in Little Rock, kind of down that way, and we're making something happen on the way down there, maybe. And on the way back, maybe. And then we got some other stuff brewing that should hopefully, knock on wood, we're announcing very soon.
Yeah.
Well, once you've been on the ATI podcast, you're always in the news loop. So if you guys got any new news that gets out there post your episode, we'll be sharing that out as well. Cool. I always like to keep our audience informed of, what the ATI podcast alumni is working on and cooking. If you guys got something new in the future that you want to have a conversation about, you guys are always welcome to come back on the show and talk about it and highlight it. I'd be happy to have you guys back on.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Folks, next episode, we're going to be at 139, and we're going to have a new morality zine band, Dime from South Florida. These guys are kind of old school emo with a little post-hardcore influence. So really young guys too. So it's kind of amazing the sound that these guys are already tapping into. So I hope folks check out that conversation next. Of course, we got the amazing back catalog. We're going to have all your links in the episode details. So we're going to have the links for checking out everything that SUNROT's got cooking. The Bandcamp, I know, still got some stuff on there. I kind of checked inventories before we had the chat tonight. So there's some older shirts and limited sizings that folks can still pick up at a good price. But then you guys got some newer stuff there. Folks can order the Passengers EP on cassette. That's what I did. I pre-ordered there some weeks back. So I'm excited to get that in the mail. Looking forward to that.
We're building them right now.
This is our tape, everyone. Yeah. That's a little bone. It's a vertebrae. 3 hours later.
They're silly. And they're awesome. They have a bunch of shit in them.
Awesome. I'm super, super stoked to get that one, because I'm kind of a guy that feels weird about, using the streaming services, because, obviously there's a convenience there. I do a lot of driving at my work as well. So, I don't really have the liberty of, cars don't have CD players in them anymore and all that stuff. So it's basically the only way to listen to music in your car. And the terrestrial radio in the near Boot Hill of Missouri is not fantastic either. So I'd rather listen to SUNROT than Dierks Bentley personally, so.
Man, no, Dirk's got some heaters, dude.
But I like to not do too much of the streaming, especially if it's a band that I like. I want to invest in, get some physical media and check it out. Cause sometimes that experience is entirely different too. I feel like, staying in front of a turntable and throw a record on, or, you got a good quality mixed cassette, that's even an amazing experience. There's an energy that conveys there that you don't get in the digital Bluetooth streaming experience, I feel like. So,
yeah.
And hey, what's better than supporting a band that you like too? So if nothing else, let's do it. Let's get some t-shirts. Let's support these guys.
Yeah.
We're going to have those links for you.
Support us.
Support us, please.
Now, baby.
Well, on the way out, I just wanted to give you guys a chance to let folks know what you're currently spinning. What's heavy in the rotation for you guys?
There's this band from New York that I'm fucking obsessed with called Love and Compassion. It's like a crust band. I think they're all trans women in the band, and they sound like dystopia. They're great. go listen to them. They're not on anything except maybe YouTube. So either buy the thing or I don't know, die. I'm not sure, but yeah, they're great. They're amazing. Yeah, like mostly old stuff for me otherwise, but yeah.
New Dream Crusher came out today. Dream Crusher, amazing. Noise artist. I don't even know if you call them noise. They're so much. I mean, I just played noise set. I love noise, but there's so much even more than that. I don't know. Dream Crusher from New York City. They're amazing. Also, I don't know. I've just been listening. I haven't listened to anything new. Like, I can only really remember today. And today,
I hear you.
There's a lot of Otis Redding, Whitney Houston.
Hell yeah.
Hunt, and Rock.
All right. I can fuck with that.
Also, everyone should go listen to more Judas Priest live bootlegs.
Hell yeah.
Because they're all great and amazing.
I mean, Judas Priest, well-known band, iconic band, but also at the same time, I feel like they're one of those bands that are a little underrated as well when it comes to the greats of metal conversations over time.
They are the top of the mountain.
They are definitely up there for me as well. Yeah, mad respect. Well, heavy in my rotation currently. The new Spy EP dropped and it's full.
Oh,
so that's fucking fantastic. Spy's one of the best bands in hardcore right now, in my opinion. No skips, absolute bangers. Those guys fucking kill it live. Love the live energy too. Fucking raw as hell. A nice punch in the teeth if you're looking for that. So I recommend that. We had Oversize on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Their full length drops tonight. Sharp Tone Records. They're like Failure and Hum, Siamese Dream era Smashing Pumpkins. So I highly recommend checking them out if you want something more on the alternative end. And then those new Death Heaven tracks, man, have just been really sticking in my ear, as well as the new Scowl tracks. I've really been into those too.
Scowl they're not my favorite band, but they are constantly playing in my head, unfortunately. Well,
they're really catchy, yeah.
It's so catchy. It is so incredibly catchy.
Yeah, I really dig them.
You really like them, yeah.
Yeah. Who else there was me and somebody else, I think it was me and Alex who were talking at band practice. We really like them, but yeah, they're not everyone's thing.
Sure. Yeah, they're leaning a little bit more accessible in their sound, but they've always kind of had those inklings there. You know, my wife, I showed them to my wife. She doesn't always like the same music as me, but she has an appreciation for it. You know, I've dragged her to a few Converge shows and things like that, so she's kind of leveled up. But Scowl's one of those bands that she could get into, and she was like, "This is if Hole was a good band." And I was like, you know, that's kind of a shot across the bow, but I don't hate the comment. Just because I mean, I liked Hole growing up. I don't think that they're a bad band, but they get a bit because of Courtney Love, how she acts, and that sort of thing. I think mainly.
One more shout out. They don't need a shout out, but new Iron Lung is
yeah, absolutely.
Wait, anything they put out,
absolutely.
Anything that record label puts out is great. There's a band Gaoled, I think they're called. GAOLED. It's like best punk record I heard last year. So good.
Our friends Paprika is on that label as well. Yeah, my friend Levi plays guitar, writes the songs, and they're amazing as well. And they just did an album full length last year, and then had EP, I believe, the year before. We've had them on the show before, so people recognize that name and Iron Lung. So yeah, definitely check that out, folks. Well, we appreciate you guys. I know that Instagram's probably really where I follow you all at. I believe that are you guys on Blue Sky as well?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. And so we're starting to migrate all of our activities social media wise over there, just because you kind of touched on this a moment ago, Ross, the big tech oligarchs and government getting involved in social media more and more, and then social media moguls bowing down and kneeling down at the throne. So in my good faith and consciousness, I have to start migrating over there, as I've told our audience here a few episodes back that things are going in that direction. So, but we're still wrapping up some business on Instagram ourselves, and I know that you guys have got content there too that I could direct folks to. So, but yeah, definitely. As always, we got the Bandcamp link in the tracks. Follow these guys on Bandcamp. Stay tuned to Prosthetic Records, the website there too. And I'm sure that they're going to keep folks up to date on the things that you guys do as well, if folks aren't on Instagram. Thank you guys very much for joining the podcast. Love what you guys are doing. Keep churning it out.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This is great.
Hello, this is Barrett from the ATI podcast, here to talk about the MANIC Compression Group. The various podcasts that make up the MANIC Compression Group include ATI Podcast, Waxing On with R&J, Nod Narb's Closet from Ed Ozen, and It's Just Two Movies. The MANIC Compression Group is a voice for the voiceless, a platform for those dream chasers. The various creative arms of the MANIC Compression Group all have one goal in mind, and that is to bring a spotlight to underground artists and amazing artistic works. ATI Podcast, hosted by yours truly, focuses in on interviewing rising artists, content creators, and small businesses. Waxing On with R&J, hosted by brothers Ridge and Jake Jackson, gives love to physical media. It promotes purchasing physical media as a means to support artists, album reviews, details on production and audio quality on various formats, all with the end goal in mind to give some love to some amazing artists. Outside of the physical media love, you're going to get reviews on recent concert viewing experiences, as well as local show calendars. Nod Narb's Closet focuses in on miniature painting, the D&D world, role-play games, as well as various niches in the hobbies of 40k Warhammer, Dungeons & Dragons, and tabletop RPGs. Led by Brandon Stewart of Ed Ozen, Nod Narb's Closet brings attention to the many talented people involved in the hobby. It's Just Two Movies, hosted by Danny Key in a rotating guest panel, covers just that, two movies. One critically acclaimed or favorably viewed, and a secondary movie probably not good, but the hope is that it is so bad that it's entertaining. Sit back, enjoy some libations to the velvety tones of Danny King and guests, with an injection of jocularity and improv comedy. The MANIC Compression Group can be found across all podcasting platforms, but the full experience can always be enjoyed on YouTube. We thank you all. Stay safe out there.